Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Carol, and it's wonderful to be with you again today. I hope you are all doing well. We sure miss our children and our families. Today, I am going to be bringing you the Sunday story, and it is a story from one of the wisdom paths that we have been studying these past couple of weeks, or we've been reading stories from. And wisdom path is just another name maybe for faith traditions. Last week the story was from the wisdom path of Buddhism, just like Christianity is a wisdom path. And today the story that I will be bringing you is an adaptation of a story that's told in the Islamic scripture, the Holy Quran. Now, Islam has its roots in the Judaic tradition, just as Christianity does. And Muhammad was the founder and considered Moses and Jesus prophets. Prayer and fasting help Muslims remember God. And the 5 pillars of Islam includes prayer 5 times daily, giving alms to the poor, fasting during the holy month of Ramadan, and pilgrimage, and the belief in one God. Now, people who practice the Islamic religion are called Muslims or Muslims, and they worship in mosque, and their holy text is the Quran. So just as Christians have the Bible, Muslims have the Quran, and it helps them focus on right action, gratitude, understanding God, and studying their scripture, much like we do. Now, the Arabic word for God is Allah. And Muslims have 98 other names for God. And they recite these, they often recite these using prayer beads. And so some of those names I wanted to share with you because they may sound familiar to you. The timeless, the patient, the eternal, the hidden, the unmanifest, the inner, the loving, the wise, the all-knowing, the creator, the source of peace, the light. Some of these we use in unity as well. Now, our affirmation today is based on that, and it is, I honor the many names for God. And if you like, you can say that with me 2 more times, because we always reaffirm these truth statements 3 times. I honor the many names for God. I honor the many names for God. Now, our story today is called Suleiman and the Ants. Now, Suleiman is the English translation of an Arabic name which means man of peace, and the equivalent English name is Solomon. So the story is Suleiman and the Ants. Imagine how big the world looks to a tiny ant. Even a grain of sand or a blade of grass is large compared to a little ant. Yet the ants have busy lives, building colonies, gathering food, raising their young, and tending to their queen without concern for the ways of the big world. Think of how small and unimportant the ant would appear to a mighty king. Kings are busy making big decisions, leading the people of their kingdom, I wouldn't normally be thinking about the small world of the ant. But there is a story of an ant and a king that took place long ago. Suleiman was a king and a prophet. And a prophet is someone who is inspired by God, who was known throughout the land for his wisdom and his devotion to Allah. From the time he was small, he wanted to be of service to his people and to Allah, and used the gifts he had been given to be a wise and just ruler. One extraordinary ability given to him by Allah was the ability to understand and communicate with the animals. This made him a very unusual king. King Suleiman was leading his vast army on a journey to a neighboring country. There were thousands of men marching and riding horses, hundreds of carts and wagons loaded with supplies rolled across the ground, all making a tremendous noise. The king rode on his beautiful white horse up front, where his men could see him as they covered the long miles. When the deep rumbling and trembling of the earth began, the worker ants rushed to their queen in fear. Could it be a thunderstorm? A storm could wash away the entire colony. The rumbling continued and grew louder as the nursery ants, who cared for the precious eggs laid by the queen, joined the worker ants in the queen's chamber. What if it was an earthquake and the world collapsed? The queen had to decide what to do, but first she needed to know the nature of the danger they faced. So she bravely left the colony and climbed up the closest hill, where she could look down the valley toward the source of the rumbling. She could see that it was a great army with a rider on a white horse leading the way. She had heard of the wise King Suleiman, who ruled the big world beyond the Valley of the Ants, and knew he always rode a white horse. The king and all those following were heading directly towards the queen and her colony. The queen rushed back to the ants, awaiting her return, and issued a royal command. Every ant must immediately go to the deepest underground chambers, or risk being crushed by the approaching army. King Suleiman is a compassionate servant of Allah and would not knowingly harm us, but we are so small and his army is so big, he will not notice our home in the valley before it is too late. Every ant scurried to obey their queen. Unknown to the queen ant, King Suleiman heard her royal command and smiled. Do you know why he smiled? Well, he smiled when he heard the queen, because he was glad that she knew he was not intentionally to destroy her colony or harm any of Allah's creatures. He smiled also because his heart was full of gratitude to Allah for giving him the gift to hear and understand the animals. With this great blessing, he was able to be of service to his entire kingdom, the people, as well as even the tiniest creatures. To his army, the king issued his own royal command. Stop! Everyone must tread with care as we make our way through the valley of the ants. No harm must come to them through our carelessness. Every man and horse walked gently through the valley. Every cart and wagon was guided around the ant colony, so not one ant was harmed. It took most of the day for them to pass, but at last the rumbling of Suleiman and his men faded in the distance, and the small queen smiled as peace filled the valley of the ants once again. Have you ever had an opportunity to watch ants working and gathering food and carrying it back to their ant mounds? What did you notice? You know, if you could understand animals, what animals would you like to talk to? Sometimes I talk to my kitties. They seem to talk back to me, although I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. So I hope you enjoyed this story and that you are having a wonderful day. And before we close, I'd like to bless you. I bless you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I behold the Christ in you. Have a wonderful day. And I hope to see you real soon.